Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today I wanted to explain briefly and summarize what I've been posting on Twitter recently about this current price action from BTC and what we saw here in May and June with the potential double top that everyone was calling. I said it was a bull flag and eventually it was a retest of the 100 daily moving average, EMA, exponential moving average, something we had seen previously, and also a tap of the 90K area, which was the upper range, like was resistance here, was just retesting as support for the first time after losing it, right? So um, what I wanted you to see is the similarities between this move and this one, and why I believe this is some kind of wake up or manipulation in the daily time frame. And I don't mean manipulation when it goes down, right? It's after all, the whole market is pretty much manipulated. That's why I like to play high time frame. It is way more difficult to manipulate. The daily, you can just turn things around to trigger longs and shorts. It's way easier for them to do that. There's some things that I wanted you to see, and then you get to the conclusions if you want. So first of all, after this break above the 97, 90K area and this vertical accumulation, the daily was still looking good and healthy. We had that breakout that led to this new range that we formed. And it was some kind of, let's say, head and shoulder here, right? But the first thing we see with this head and shoulder is this kind of support held, right? So it wasn't like a full. I remember people calling this a complete head and shoulders. So it was a rollover here, right? So it started with some kind of flat or extended divergence here. Not fully. I thought it wasn't validated here, but the stock RSI said otherwise, right? Stock RSI, yes, it detected the divergence, right? So what followed was pretty much another trapping move, printing a lower high. That's why people said this was the top. But again, you will have to wait until you print a lower low to start talking about breaking structure. What we saw was the close was pretty much was actually the same as this area here in the head and shoulder, and what we had was a wick down to the imbalance here, pretty much, that has started this leg, this imbalance candle, right? Grabbing liquidity, as I showed recently, just now, tapping the 100-day moving average, right? The whole move was complete about from the stock RSI perspective as well. And then we resume our uptrend, chopped around the area, broke above with another kind of similar imbalance candle. But now, instead of having that kind of head and shoulder, what we are having here is, we can say, like a rounded top. In this distribution area, RSI losing strength, even getting below the RSI MA. I posted here that we could break, but we need to break. If we break RSI, we would probably break 120. We didn't. We can see it's perfectly contained under 120. Perfectly, right? So then we had the capitulation candle, but what we did was confirm the previous all-time high as support. Then we had this, again, pretty much the same kind of fully retraced kind of V-shape. Impulse was a fake out. We triggered a various divergence, which reinforces the idea of a fake out. Also in the 4-hour, there was a fake out. And now we are going back to support. The thing is, if we will see the wick down to this kind of imbalance candle, more or less around 110K, something like that. Or if just support holds, right? One just weak scam candle, something like that. RSI is also holding the same. So we have that week we could do something like this, just a small pushback down. But again, it looks very, very similar. And not only that, but you can, let me remove this for a second. We can take a look at how RSI has also evolved in all these leg. We can see that from these that I said kind of flat divergence that we spotted here, we can even argue that this was also smaller divergence here, right? We can see how it developed. It was the first point, the first area, 2 points, and to the various divergence, losing steam. Here was a more vertical because it was like a head and shoulder. We come back down here, complete this first move. We have a second impulse that is weaker. Second impulse that is weaker, even though price goes higher, makes a divergence, and then we come back down to fully complete the move. It doesn't mean it has to end here. We could keep rolling over until perhaps fully resetting, which is something I don't expect. We have been pretty much respecting these kind of RSI daily area since we reclaimed the trend in April. So I don't see that happening. Again, it can. But what I wanted you to see mostly is how these moves are anything but organic. I think they are just, my opinion, reaccumulating again, triggering shorts, late longs, liquidating them, and perhaps grabbing some liquidity here. But again, in my opinion, these are just coordinated moves in a chopping range that are really triggering people. In fact, I said that you should compare it to the Ethereum daily price action that we had around 2.5k, and this is the daily BTC, the current BTC price action. We can see it's pretty much the same. The difference is we didn't have that capitulation candle here. We pushed back up. I mean, they are not always going to be the same, but then we also printed like a higher high, fake out, and then we came back down to pretty much test the imbalance candle, which was 2.1k high time frame support for Ethereum. Structure holds in this whole range, and then we resume higher. For now, we're pretty much holding. BTC is pretty much holding, and we will see if this is enough to push back up. If we go to the 4-hour, this is the move that topped the local top in July. As I said, similar to the daily. We have this flat move here on the other side, the other side, sorry, with very like it started to be quite oversold. We bounced from support. We built another divergence. So this wasn't the real breakout, and now we are forming another bullish divergence at the support. But we need to see if it comes back down, perhaps, and makes the wick down to 110. Right. Does something like this with some wick and reinforces the bullish divergence, and then we finally move back up after liquidating and trapping more people. This is why I play high time frame, because all this chop, daily chop, means nothing in my opinion, right? Unless the structure in the high time frame is looking bad, right? Many people are comparing it. I'm going to remove all this for a second, and they are comparing this weekly structure, the distribution, and comparing it with the 2021 kind of price action. Okay, let me just change to another chart so we can see it more clearly. So they are comparing this with this distribution here, right? The difference, in my opinion, is that we were really overheating. We were already coming back down, right? In this case, we are still printing higher highs and higher lows in RSI. So it's still in an uptrend. Most people will compare it to these previous December top, but if you compare it to this top, you have to compare the same leg. This is like saying you are measuring the divergence here with July or with the COVID crash. So there is no divergence, so we keep going up. No, you have to measure it within the same, the next impulse is within the same leg. And that's why this is different, at least for now. Yes, we have crossed below the MA. That is not good. If we push back up and get rejected by the MA, the story will be different. But for now, sorry, for now, it's not something we haven't seen. We saw that in January from even way overheated, more overheating areas. All we did was grab liquidity on both sides and pushed back up into March, and we haven't seen those levels, and we might not see them until the next bear market. So we have to be careful. By the time we topped here in December, remember we were building a various divergence for a whole month on the daily, right? Again, some kind of distribution with fake outs while losing strength into a move that pretty much what I'm saying now in the daily with this imbalance candle, it was this imbalance move was finally filled and made previous all-time high pretty much as support, which is what we are doing now. Can you see? It's pretty much the same. The difference is the extension. We were pushing with perpetual pushings, altcoins were really hot, everything was hot, and this was pretty much like an M top, a double top, an M top, right? Well, in fact, it just completed the M, right, by going back down. It was pretty much like an M top. You can stop it here, right, until we eventually lost this upper area, but it was like an M top. The same way we have W bottoms, right? And this kind of imbalance here was filled eventually here, as we can see, right? But it was in a macro uptrend. That's the difference, right? Pretty much what we are doing now in a smaller scale. So again, I wanted to show you the kind of tactics they play so you can be ready. There will be some moment when those moves are indeed bearish and will threaten the structure. But that's why you buy high time frame support. So if you buy, let's say here, high time frame support, when those moves happen, you have the flexibility to hold them until a structure really breaks. So until then you just hold, but because perhaps the structure holds and we keep sending, right, until very overheated areas, which is normally when cycles die. But we never know if it's gonna be the same case again. It's all about probabilities and betting on them. So yeah, I hope you find this video useful. Let's see how it all ends. And if it's just one more reaccumulation that we saw with Ethereum, that we saw with BTC here. And again, remember that if we have the final candle, capitulation candle that I just set into 110K, it is filling the imbalance. It is pretty much the same as we did here, filling pretty much the imbalance. It is a 100-day again. For now, the 50 has been rejecting, so the longer we take to reclaim it, the 50-day EMA, the more probabilities there are to fill this candle back down to 110.6, something like that. Okay, so yeah, I hope you find this video useful. Take care, see ya.